Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the School Innovation and Turnaround Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Appel? Here. Mr. Appel is present. Dr. Armstrong? Here. Dr. Armstrong present. Mr. Birkin? Here. Mr. Birkin present. Mr. Castile? Mr. Castile not present. Ms. Champagne?
Here.
Ms. Champagne present. Dr. Clark? Here. Dr. Clark present. Mr. Harris? Here. Mr. Harris present. Mr. Hollis? Mr. Hollis not present. Ms. Holloway?
Here.
Ms. Holloway present. Ms. Mellarine?
Present.
Ms. Mellarine present. Mr. Morris? Mr. Morris is not present, but I know he's here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Your first item is on page 1, item 2.1, consideration of a report on types 2, 4, and 5 charter contracts and requests for amendments. The recommendation is to approve as outlined.
Motion, please. Mr. Harris, and second it by Ms. Champagne. Any questions? Any report? No opposition? Motion carried. Next item, please.
Your next item is on page 6, item 3.1, consideration of a type 5 charter contract between the Recovery School District and Third Future Schools for the continued operation of Linwood Public Charter School. The recommendation is to approve, and you have also been passed out a backup piece of material.
Thank you. Motion, please. Mr. Morris, second it. Mr. Birkins, thank you. Dr. Bromley?
Yes, ma'am, Ms.
Thank you.
Holloway. Thank you for allowing me to make this presentation. If we could pull this up. So as we've previously discussed, you know, one of our key performance indicators obviously is to ensure that more students are in higher performing seats across the state of Louisiana every single day. That's a KPI, but also we're just all personally interested and investing in making sure that happens as well. Bessie has, for a number of years, over a decade, been involved with the school up in Shreveport on Linwood, called Linwood, and took the school into the RSD 15 or so years ago, and had a few, I believe, renewals, but ultimately came to the point, I want to say around 2017, 2016, where the board decided to no longer extend a contract for Linwood to continue under their charter operator. And since that point in time, the department has year over year recommended just a continuation of a management agreement there at Linwood, as opposed to a traditional charter setup. We are making a presentation today and ultimately a recommendation to simply make a change in the operator of Linwood Public Charter School. There was discussion up in the Shreveport area that the Department of Education was recommending to Bessie that we close this school. There is no recommendation to close this school at Linwood. I think that was commentary that was fueled by emotions, because when you make changes, those are obviously very sensitive. We have the option of recommending to you all to close this school. And if we close the school, those students would move into the Caddo Parish school system, into their respective schools. We're not making that recommendation. We're not suggesting that we close this particular school on this day. Our recommendation is, because we believe that we have an operator that can drive greater academic results for kids, to simply change the operator at the school. And so that's what our recommendation is going to be, and I'll share a presentation with you at this point. Dr. Stuhler, if you could help me with the slides, that would be appreciated. So I want to start with an overview of Linwood Public Charter. You see that they are a K-8 school with an enrollment around 1,100 students, 95.9% of them economically disadvantaged, with the school performance score in the 50s. They're at 56.7D. And here's the timeline that I tried to recall from memory. But in 2009, Bessie approved the transfer from Caddo Parish to the RSD as a type 5. In 2014 through 2017, Bessie renewed that Type 5 with the group for a 3-year term. But in 2017, Bessie did not renew the Type 5 and instead opted to move towards a more flexible memorandum of understanding. And even since I have been state superintendent, we've basically had a year after year, single year MOU with Linwood, and people consistently, both in Shreveport and here, will ask, what are we going to do at Linwood? What's the plan for Linwood? And we came to the place most recently where we believe we have an operator that will make the changes that we know need to be made for students there at Linwood. Next slide. This is a look at school performance scores. So you can see there Linwood is in the blue. They do have an uptick. You can see since 2021, and they've shared this information with you that they have had this uptake, but they are still at a 56.7 D, and they have not come out of that FD status for the entirety of the time for which this board has been working at this particular school, as well as previous boards. At the same time, you can see that gradual uptick with state performance scores, which are the ones in the red, burnt orange color. If we look at ELA grades 3 through 8, mastery rates, or percent proficient of kids, you can see that at Linwood, in the 3rd grade, the Louisiana average is 44% of students are proficient. At Linwood, it's 19. It's a 26% difference between state average and Linwood. If you look at 4th grade, our state average is 41%. At Linwood, it's 16%, which is a 25% difference. 5th grade, 43 for the state, 22 at Linwood, a 21-point difference. 6th grade, 40 to 25, which is a 15-point difference. 7th grade, 45 to 28, which is a 17-point difference. And then 8th grade, 45 to 30, which is a 15-point difference. If we look at math, which would be the next slide, you see similar findings ranging from 29 to 15-point differences from the state average to Linwood, with at Linwood, with the exception of 6th grade, being less than 10% proficient across the board in math. Next slide. So our proposed new operator is Third Future Schools. We have an existing relationship. If you recall, 2 years ago, we had a school that was struggling in Baton Rouge called DPrep, Democracy Prep. We recommended to this board that we assign in this very similar fashion that's happening today. We had a charter operator, Democracy Prep, at a school, and we did not feel that they were meeting the expectations. We asked Third Future to come into that particular school on this same timeline, and they've done that. And we are seeing results there at Prescott. In the same way, last year we worked with the Caddo Parish School Board, and we were able to take Fair Park Middle School in Caddo, keep that Fair Park label, keep that Fair Park heritage and tradition, but convert it to the operator being Third Future, and we think we'll see positive results there as well. Third Future is also working with the East Baton Rouge Parish School System for a Type 1 charter called Bridge. If we look at the comparative demographics between Linwood and Prescott, which is our Third Future school here in Baton Rouge, you can see that their minority population is the same at 99%. Prescott has a slightly higher economically disadvantaged rate at 97.6. Both schools serve a community with high needs, obviously. And then you see the English learner population being 2% and 1% respectively. So similar demographics between the two schools. If we look at Prescott data, they have a transitional score for 2024. They have an enrollment of 427. So their first year score is a 58.5, which is higher than Linwood after a couple of decades of existence. Prescott is outscoring Linwood with the same demographics. And if you look at where DPrep was in 23, they were at a 42. So in 1 year at Prescott with Third Future as the operator, we've gone from a 42.2 to a 58.5. So a considerable uptick there in 1 year. I would note that you have information that was provided to you from Linwood, not from the department. You received an email, I believe, and then also you have a form that looks like this. I want to just be clear, this is not a department flyer. This comes from Linwood, not the department. Next slide, please. If we look at progress index and look at a comparison there, you can see that Linwood's progress index is an 87.7, which is below the state average. This is growth year over year compared to what we've seen at Prescott in 1 year with a 107 progress index. Looking at school performance data, you can see the percentage of students showing growth in ELA and math, and then we also have it available for the lowest 25% of students. And you can see Prescott in their first year is outperforming the Linwood numbers across the board. When we look at middle of the year growth there at Prescott with some of the assessments and screeners that they use, you can see that we're already expecting growth there at Prescott again for this year based on internal tracking in advance of formal standardized testing. When we look at middle of the year staff survey results at Prescott, you see that we have really high ratings from their faculty around their school model, and they basically are right there at that almost 100% intent to return number. So really good numbers from the staff survey there at Prescott. There are a number of different ways in which Bessie can authorize a school to be operated if we take them into the RSD. This is just a reminder. We've shared this information before. We can direct run. We can partner with an operator to have a type 5. We can explore a university partnership, which is something we should consider thinking about moving forward, or we can do a management agreement. So we've previously been on a management agreement since roughly 2017 with Linwood. This recommendation moves this to a full charter model through a type 5. So our recommendation is to approve a type 5 charter contract between the Recovery School District and Third Future Schools for the continued operation of Linwood Public Charter effective July 1 of 2025. As part of this, we have impressed upon Third Future as an operator to be very sensitive to the needs of the community and the heritage, the traditions of the school. But also, we just believe that with the change of operator, at the end of the day, academic results for kids are going to go up. We've seen it. I've seen it in multiple states with Third Future as an operator, and I'm just confident we'll see it again here. If we were not confident that we would see results improve at Linwood, we would not be making this recommendation. Why would we, go through the struggle, go through the challenges, go through any form of controversy if we didn't believe that it would make a difference? And RSD work is not easy work. It's hard work. It's sensitive work. It's tough votes. But we think it's the right thing to do so that we can make sure that kids get what they need academically. So that's our recommendation. Dr. Schooler, I don't think we have any additional slides.
No, we don't.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brumley and Dr. Schooler. Any questions, comments before we go into public comments? Mr. Morris?
Yeah, Dr. Schooler, one of the concerns that was raised to me was about the health clinic at the school. I've visited Linwood a couple times in the last, 4 or 5 years, so I'm familiar with the campus. I've never visited the health center, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. You and I discussed it a little bit. I think you had a site visit. And so there were some concerns that if this board did vote for Third Futures to become the operator for the school, what would be the outcome of the health center? Can you speak to that, or maybe someone from Third Futures can speak to it? I know it's a sensitive issue, so I'd like to run it to ground.
I think, Mr. Morris, that's a really good question. I think it might be most appropriate, since we would be authorizing the operator, if the operator actually speak to that. If that's okay with you, you get a clearer answer. Mr. Craddock from Third Future, I know you're here. Ms. Miles as well. Welcome here being with us today. And Zach, be sure and introduce yourself, please.
Thank you. So Zach Craddock, Superintendent of Schools at Third Future Schools. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today and possibly continue or start this partnership. So regarding our health clinic, sir, So all we ask for the health clinic is that students or teachers don't select to go down, that an administrator, a counselor, or a registered nurse, which we would have, would send and refer a student to the clinic. As you guys know, turnaround work is hard. Students need to be in class, and students are students. They're adolescents, they're kids. And we would just ask that an administrator, a counselor, or our nurse refer down to the clinic if the situation is more than they can handle. That's it, sir.
And I know you've had some conversations with the current operator. Is that the current practice, or do you?
My understanding is, yes, that is the current practice based on my conversations. What we do not allow, if I can be clear, is a student cannot self-select to leave the classroom and go to a clinic. Students cannot just get up and go. And in Third Futures, we prefer that a teacher work with a counselor, the nurse, or the administrator. They are more trained professionals to make the recommendation for the student to leave the classroom environment and go to a health clinic.
Any other questions from board members? Mr. Perkins? You'll wait. Okay, thank you. Any other questions before we go in? Dr. Clark?
What was the criteria that Linwood had to meet to be renewed if a renewal was an option?
So in their MOU, there was not a criteria specifically other than we follow the kind of traditionally a holistic approach. So we met with the Linwood board in July and talked through their data, previous data, current data, and it was communicated then that they are currently the only local board that is directly operating their school. And we talked through the data of we needed to see progress for these students. They're just not progressing to proficiency at a fast enough rate that we would like to see them to be successful to go on to high school. And so we've had those conversations during the year. Throughout the year, we visited the school, visited the clinic, which was very nice. And so we've had these conversations, but at this point, without very specifics, we do feel as a holistic approach, it is time to add a new operator that can move students at a faster rate to get them ready for high school, because Linwood is a K through 8.
Dr. Clark, I would add to that too, like I know they may not necessarily feel it, but I mean, I think we're thankful that the operator there at Linwood has done the work for the time in which they've done it, because you know, this is the first point where we feel like we have a high-quality operator that we believe in that also wants to go in and do the work. And so that's why you just had that year-to-year MOU, because we weren't convinced in the model that was taking place at Linwood. The results weren't indicating that we should be convinced with those, but there wasn't a better alternative. And we feel like now we finally have an alternative that makes sense to move forward with a more long-term commitment than the year-to-year model.
Thank you. Anyone else? We're going to go into public comment, and just to remind everyone, comments are, excuse me, comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per individual and 5 minutes per designated spokesperson of a group or organization. So I'm going to call up the first person, Jay Walters, Stefan Jennings, and Tara Seeley. Please come forward, and you may sit at the table. Mr. Jay. Yeah. It's representative. Okay. Okay.
I'd like to also, Representative, welcome you here today. It's good seeing you, whether we're in Shreveport or here today.
He has 5 minutes. Representative Walters, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you.
may.
Thank you, Board, for allowing me to have this opportunity. And I won't be before you long. I sat, listened to the presentation, but I have some rhetorical questions, and then I'll move into my point. Can we truly compare the numbers of Prescott and Linwood in good faith when there's nearly double the amount of students at Linwood. I don't believe that that is a fair comparison at all. And also, I want to put on record that if this measure passes, that in Caddo Parish, Third Future will be responsible for 1,600 students in Caddo Parish, 1,600 students in Caddo Parish. And we need people who are already in the future of these children, and that would be Shreveport Charter, and that would be the principal, as well as the three principals, and that would be everything that is already in place. Also, whenever the Recovering School District came, they gave a report to the Bessie Board. I immediately, called to find out, hey, I noticed that Linwood Charter was mentioned. What's going on? And I was told, oh, they needed to fix a few things. And that is what I'm still hearing today, fix a few things, but we're not really hearing what those few things are. And again, I find that very, very problematic. Nevertheless, I do believe that Shreveport Charter, they deserve one more year to operate this institution to prepare 1,091 children for a possible change in their life. 1,091 children for this possible change in their life. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Dalton, CEO of Linwood Public Charter. And I just want to preface this by saying I'm not here to speak ill of the proposed charter operator, but I am here to talk about the accomplishments that we have made at Linwood. Yes, it is true that Linwood had been operating, Shreveport Charter School has been operating Linwood from 2009 till today. I came to Linwood in 2017 as the CEO of Linwood, and since then, we had to come in. I had to put in new all Tier 1 curricula. I had to hire a finance department, HR department. I had to hire a maintenance staff, a cafeteria staff. I had to hire teachers. It's a desert up north when you try to find teachers. There aren't quality teachers, and then the ones that were there, they didn't have the capacity to do the work that needed to be done. And year over year, we were given a one-year management agreement. That made it difficult for us to hire quality teachers and sustain them because they wanted stability. And even with that, if you look at our trend data year over year, we've been able to show increases year over year. Now, mind you, let me just say this. We didn't shut school down during COVID at all. We kept school going through COVID. We had an AM and a PM schedule, and we had a hybrid model. Our kids, I want to keep our kids in school because I know that if they were not in school, that there was a possibility that we would lose the ground that we had gained. With that being said, if you look at the data, and it is posted on the state website, if you look at our data, we didn't have that COVID slide that most schools around Louisiana or the nation had. And guess what happened after that? When we were able to test, we increased our SPS. The next year, we increased our SPS and we came out of F status. And then the next year, we increased our SPS. And we are guaranteed to get to increase our SPS again this year based on some shifts that we've made in our instructional practices. But I'm not going to take up any more time because I do want Ms. Seeley to talk about our data.
Please identify yourself. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Tara Seeley. I'm currently working as the Chief Academic Officer at Linwood Public Charter Schools, so thank you for your time today. Today, I, again, want to echo the sentiments not here to badge Third Future. I don't know much about them, but since we are being compared to Prescott's performance, I thought it fair to do a little deeper dive of what the actual numbers are. If anyone in here is a mathematician or does math at all, we certainly know that numbers play a huge part in what we see. And so I do want to double back to say, again, our enrollment is roughly around 1,100. But when we drill the data down around tested students, the actual, not the anticipated, we tested 657 students. That is 100% of our population in 3rd through 8th grade, as well as when we look at Prescott, they tested anywhere between 92 to 100% of their population, and it totaled up to about 235 kids. So when we look at performance, it is probably much easier to move 235 kids than 657. Again, not badging them. I'm glad they were able to move, but I do think that we've been moving children as well as teachers to be able to support the students in the building. The second thing I want to acknowledge is that when we review the actual raw number and percent of students obtaining the basic, mastery, and advanced between the two schools closely, and I'll just look at 3rd grade as a quick example. For 3rd grade, Prescott actually tested 38 kids, and Linwood, we tested 98. So again, that's going to look a little different, right? And so when we drill that down a little bit further, we have 3rd grade, our 3rd graders performing at a basic, mastery, or advanced. The raw number for Linwood and ELA is roughly 39 students. The raw number for Prescott is roughly 11 students, if we're looking at the percent times the number of actual tested. When we look at math, the same thing exists. Linwood, 27%, and Prescott, 22% of those students that were tested. The raw number is 26 students for Linwood in math that obtained basic, mastery, and advanced, and 9 students for Prescott. I say this all to say, when we really look at data, we all want the kids to move. We all want the kids to perform. I've lived in Louisiana twice, here in Baton Rouge and now in Shreveport, and a transplant from Atlanta, Georgia. So I just think that it's important that whatever we consider for students, as all of us are taxpayers and would like for our economy to grow, for students to have a future, that we really look closely at numbers and not just gravitate towards 1 year of improvement when we've had 3 to 4 years of progressive movement. So when you guys get ready to vote, I just hope that you reconsider or consider how we move forward, no matter which operator you guys decide to go with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Did you want to say something?
No.
You're good. Okay, thank you.
Ms.
Dr.
Holloway,
Bromley?
may I ask Mr. Lambert to come to the table just for a second? There have been some questions around testing percentage. I just want to make sure we get some clarity around that. Mr. Lambert, do you happen to know, because in terms of testing percentage, where are we in terms of students that tested that were supposed to test at both Linwood and Prescott?
Yeah, happy to do that. 99% was the rate at both of the schools.
Okay. And Mr. Lambert, wouldn't it make sense that if a school had double or triple the population, that they could have more students score basic, mastery, or advanced, and at the same time have a lower percentage of those children scoring at advanced because they have more kids?
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you. Questions? Yes, Mr. Perkins.
You mentioned that you're scheduled to improve again this year. How do you know that?
It's based on our internal data and what it's telling us. And that's what we use to determine whether we're going to grow or not.
And yeah, any idea of how much the trend line is the same as it has been in the past, not as much as more?
So we have a rough estimate that we should grow at least between 3 to 5 points, and that's being conservative. One of the things that we do, of course, is we have used the NWEA map in the past, but this year we are using the STAR in order to determine children's performance, and that looks at their diagnostic performance. So does the map, NWEA map, and so that's how we're able to tell as we're moving along, overall averages, and actually there has been Ms. Red, she's not, I don't know if she's here, but she's participated in our academic committee meetings, so that data has been discussed as we go along.
And we have been averaging about 6 points of growth since 21. Last year was an anomaly because we lost some teachers in critical core areas like third grade and fifth grade. So we made some shifts in instruction and in curricula. So we're seeing that those shifts that we've made are showing us that we are going to hit our target this year.
You mentioned a while ago, I think your last sentence said, no matter which charter, which way we go forward, you wanted to explain what you meant by that last statement.
So I've worked for a recovery school district before in 2012 when I was at Lanier Charter. What I do know is that Prescott has been under recovery school district since that time as well. And so several or a few different charter operators have operated the school. And so my comment is just grounded in the fact of making sure that, and I know everyone's vested in student improvement, just making sure that the best charter is selected based over a period of time of performance so that we're actually growing and not just growing, statistically, right? Of course, we can show data for movement there, but making sure that students as a whole grow.
There are a couple other things that I would like to say. You heard me speak to the fact that it was very difficult finding teachers north. So with that being said, we tried a number of things. LRCE here in Baton Rouge, which is the Louisiana Resource Center for Educators. So we sent like 30-something teachers through that. And because we were not able to have a multi-year contract, we were year over year, almost all of those teachers left us once they got there. Once they did their 2 years, because part of the obligation was you had to do 2 years if we were to pay for the program. And since then, we've partnered with Holy Cross University in New Orleans, where we've sent 6 teachers through, and 3 are slated to finish at the end of this year. And what that program entails is that we send teachers through their program to get certified. These are alternative certifications. And they are assigned a mentor teacher. And the mentor teacher not only works with them on how to deliver instruction in the classroom, but they also do real-time teaching with our teachers, where we use what's called swivel. They wear, the teachers wear a lanyard with a camera on it. So the teacher, the mentor teacher can see in real time what's going on in the classroom. And we're connected to Zoom. They can say, hey, I saw what you're doing here. Can you put me in a Zoom room with this group of kids because I don't think you taught that concept well? Or they may say, hey, you go into a Zoom room and let me teach the class. Those are the innovative things that we're doing at Linwood. We're not only teaching our kids how to pass a test for gains, we're teaching our kids how to become lifelong learners and readers for sustained growth. It's just been blood, sweat, and tears, if you will, for our staff and our community. This school has come a long way, and I'm not going to sit here and say Linwood is a good school, because everyone would say their school is great, even when it's failing. But I am saying that we've created an environment that is great for learning for kids.
So I have to sit here and, not knowing much about your school, make a decision. And the one thing that I think about is, if my child is in the first grade, what is the best path forward for my first grade child? What say you?
Well, I'm going to have one of our first grade teachers speak to that. What I am saying is that when you look at our data, we have some of the best kinder and first grade teachers. So we send our kids to second grade, pretty much reading. It's third grade where that testing grade is, where sometimes we can't, that's where we start to struggle with our certified teachers or quality teachers in the grade. So we have to build those teachers up and ramp them up. I would venture to say, if my kids were school-age kids, I would send them to Linwood, because I know how to advocate for them, and I always want to make a school a great place for my own kids. So I'm concerned about the welfare of every kid, not just my kids or certain kids, but every kid that comes through the door of Linwood.
But to be very blunt, is that first grader's future better off in your hands or better off in a third future?
I would venture to say it would be better off in our hands because we're very targeted and in the work that we do around third graders, around that first grade student, we have summer school, we have targeted interventions. There are a lot of things that we have put in place to support struggling learners. And keep in mind that a lot of kids that come to Linwood, the community that we serve, a lot of our kids come to us not even having to know how to hold a book right side up. They've not been exposed to a lot of things. And so I would venture to say that the things that we do with our kids make them better off for the future. You have anything to add?
Thank you. Mr. Perkins, that concludes your, Mr.
I have a
Appel.
question.
Thank you. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. I want to ask a question that has really perhaps nothing to do with Linwood, but y'all are experts, and there's something that has troubled me for my whole career, and I really would like y'all's opinion on it. And maybe you hit on it a minute ago when you talked about kids that don't even know what a book is. Is there a limiting factor? Is there a reason why across the state, not just your school, we seem to be constantly bumping up against a ceiling? In other words, we're not seeing substantial growth the way we'd like to see it. There seems to be an upward ceiling on growth in scores, because that's the only way we can measure it, for schools across Louisiana. So I guess what I'm asking is, y'all's numbers are not particularly great. There are a lot of schools whose numbers are not particularly great. Why should we expect, or should we expect those numbers to grow to where they are really great? Or are there factors in your community, any community around the state, that limits the growth of education in our kids? Does that make sense?
Yes, but if you look at our trend data, our progress index, the state's progress index is what, 89.6, and I think our progress index is 87.7. We're trending right there with the state.
Yeah, but
So-
my point is not so much the trend, it's why, as a state, we keep bumping up against this ceiling. We're not seeing growth like this, we're seeing growth like this. And we've spent decades of reform time trying to break that cycle. I was just curious if you all ever had thought about where we could potentially end up in the best case. Or is there a limiting factor that nobody wants to talk about here? Poverty, broken families, whatever it might be. My personal concern is early childhood preparation. It just doesn't seem like we're growing as a state in the right direction. And I thought maybe y'all as experts would have some insight into that.
What I can say is that when you look at the types of students and the environment that our students come from, we're dealing with a lot of social, emotional issues
Right.
that prevent kids from learning. You know, we have them for 7, 8 hours a day when they come to us. And a lot of times, they come to us with a lot of baggage, a lot of issues that we have to deal with and address on a day-to-day basis. And then we send them off on the weekends, and they're back in that environment.
I understand.
And so that's one reason. The other reason is that a lot of our parents just aren't educated enough to know how to support their kids. And so we address that issue through a lot of parent meetings and community meetings of those measures. But I think a lot of it has to deal with the social and emotional state of kids that we are serving. COVID had a great and profound impact on our kids. A lot of our kids lived in homes where they were not able to isolate. They lived in homes where they saw their grandma, their grandfather died, brothers, sisters, uncles died. These are real people. And then you send them back to us after they've been broken and dealt with all of those issues. Those are some real issues. And we've been able to show growth even through all of that. And mind you, we're not having 16 points of growth in 1 year, but given the number of our kids, for example, when Ms. Seeley talked about 98 kids being tested in 3rd grade as opposed to, 33? We may have 55 kids in 3rd grade that are unsat, and the other school may have 5. It's harder to move 55 kids than it is 5 kids. And so it's a numbers game.
Yeah,
And
I
so,
understand. But again, go ahead, please.
I think to answer your question really would involve like a real true research study, right? I don't think that's a question that we can really sit here and
Well, I
answer
didn't know if y'all
for
had
the
some
state.
insight into it, that was all.
Mr.
Yeah, I don't think we can answer that.
Okay,
Ms.
well, that's
Holloway.
fair.
Yes,
Thank you.
Dr. Bromley can assist with this.
Again, I'm not questioning the commitment of these individuals. What I'm saying is that for 15 years, this operator has been at this school, essentially. We're a D. I mean, that's not where any of us need to be. And I'm not willing, in terms of a recommendation, to go 15 more years. I don't want to go 2 more years. When we have an operator that we believe can make a difference, and we have seen it early on. Mr. Lamberts, if you don't mind coming forward and giving us a little bit, since we've heard from the operators here from Linwood, giving us a little bit of additional information about some of the turnaround efforts at Prescott and what you're seeing in the data. And then I'd like Mr. Craddock and maybe Dr. Miles to come up, since we've heard from the Linwood operators. Yes, ma'am. If Dr. Miles and Mr. Craddock would also come up, that way we can hear from Mr. Lambert on the data and then hear from them. Dr. Clark, sorry.
Here's my question, I guess, my concern at this point. If RSD is not wanting to directly operate any more schools, I guess my question to Linwood is, and I did ask this question before, is at what point did you guys not look at becoming your own operator? Creating a nonprofit and putting in to write the charter, because I don't understand how long you guys thought that the MOU should keep on going and going and going and going without eventually Bessie looking at the fact that they don't want to continue to operate schools, and we are looking for operators. Why didn't you guys become your own operator? And what was the expectation for the next how many years that Bessie would operate the school under the RSD's umbrella? I guess that becomes my concern, because we can go into the data and talk about all of those pieces. And Mr. Appel, let me address what you just asked, because I think that's a great question. Being an educator for 24 years still in the school, the things that I find that continue to cause us to not have growth, because that's a really good question. We can change the parameters of accountability, we can come up with new tests, et cetera, but we're not actually dealing with the skeleton in the room. And it does become an issue of poverty, teacher effectiveness, teachers not being trained properly, teachers being in the classroom, and I'm not picking on teachers because I am a teacher at the end of the day. I think that we are moving in the right direction, because now when we had the CSRD grant, I know I've been here a long time, and I don't know if y'all remember the CSRD grant, but one of the things with that grant is schools were able to create numeracy and literacy programs that were consistent over a period of years. Once the grant ran out, those programs ran out, and we stopped doing it. But we began to see growth, because even with poverty, right, once I teach a child to read and understand, you usually don't forget. You might not have the resources to continue to keep practicing, but you usually don't forget to learn how to read. I think that we're moving in the right direction and making sure all teachers are trained. So even if I'm not a great teacher, I am still trained consistently across the state of Louisiana in literacy and hopefully the numeracy. Once I think we continue to keep that consistently moving and our kids continue to grow and move, we will start seeing some changes in our system. But we cannot allow poverty and the lack of a parent in the household to be an excuse to just poor economical living and no success. We have to keep putting our consistent pieces in place and making sure they happen. So I applaud LDOE when we talk about it. And remember, growth was not something we actually measured years ago. We just looked at proficiency, and if they weren't proficient, that was it. Growth is just really starting, and again, I'm gonna go back to the high schools. I want to see high schools show growth properly, different from elementary, because except for English 1 and English 2 being in the building, I don't know how you're growing from algebra to geometry. I understand there are some concepts, but they're not the same concepts. And so I think that when we look at it and we look at the numeracy and literacy, our kids are going to soar once those programs continue to keep growing. And I just encourage all BESI members and LDOE to continue, at least give us 10 to 20 years of literacy to see where we land. But other than that, my question goes back to where was the fallout in you guys making sure that you could operate your own school?
Well, that did come up a couple of years ago, but we were told that that was not an option for us because we were not a proven operator. And I hear what you're saying, and there was a different administration in place at that time. And we were told that it's not an option for us, and that's why we continued on year over year thinking that once we got to a C, because that was the measuring stick, a C, and then we could apply for the charter. And we're 3.3 points away from that, and we're sure we're gonna hit that this year and more.
Sure, one second. Mr. Jennings, can you clarify your position at Linwood?
I'm the CEO. I'm the CEO of Linwood.
CEO, and do you have a principal?
I
under-
do. We have 3 principals and a chief academic officer, yes.
Good, thank you. Yes, Mr. Morris.
Yeah, what's the average teacher salary?
The average teacher salary at Linwood is around 56.
Okay. I want to ask the Third Futures representative, what's the average teacher salary with your model?
Our average teacher salary in Louisiana is $81,000.
Thank you.
Dr. Clark, did Mr. Jennings answer? I mean, are you good with your
Yes.
question? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't want to overlook.
Quick question, I want to kind of piggyback on some of the comments that you had made earlier. You talked about your teachers that went through LCRE and that they stayed for the 2 years and then they left. What is your teacher retention rate at your school?
Our teacher retention rate is around 80%.
Okay, so you have about 20% that leave every year, and how many teachers do you have at your school?
We have 40-something certified teachers at our
Okay.
school.
40 certified?
47,
Okay, well, how many do you have that are not certified?
about 22.
Okay, so third, yeah. And then what about your student retention rate
We run about 92% every year,
from kindergarten?
all the way up to 7th grade, because 8th grade leaves us.
Okay.
Ms. Holloway, I
Thank you.
just
Yes,
wanted
Dr.
Mr. Lambert to kind of provide some additional
Yes.
information about turnaround there at Prescott.
Absolutely. The other thing that I think is important to remember as we look at this data, that the organization that Dr. Clark's asking about operated this school under a charter operating agreement that BESI decided not to renew in 2017. And from 2017 to present, this operator continues to operate the school at a D after that number of years. The second thing that I would offer is that while their growth score appears to be running neck and neck with the state of Louisiana, when you roll things into an average, you kind of miss some nuance. So I think it's really important to know that when you look at schools that have a K-8 growth index, which is what they're talking about, Prescott is in essentially the top 10% for student progress. Linwood is in the bottom 40%. So 60% of schools are growing students at a better rate than Linwood's current operator. To answer the question about it's a bigger school, it's harder to move a bigger school. I mean, statistically speaking, you've got several hundred kids in this sample. The student populations look very similar. So one would imagine that if you grew that school, that operator would statistically get a very similar result at the next location, assuming is the thing that is making the program better, which we believe it is, because we've looked at the data from Democracy Prep and we have seen the significant growth in the top 10% of schools in the state of Louisiana is what Third Future has been able to do at Prescott. And after 2017 to present, Linwood continues to be in the bottom 40% for student progress.
Ms. Holloway?
One second, Dr. Armstrong, did you want to say?
It would be appropriate for Dr. Armstrong, because my question was for Mr.
Okay,
Craddock.
sure.
Yep.
Dr.
So
Armstrong?
I guess, Dr. Brumley, Dr. Thomas, I'm going to ask a question. You're saying for 15 years, this was a D school?
I'm saying that since, I think, was the year '09, Dr. Schooler, that they went into the RSD. So they were eligible for RSD intervention in '09 when they came in. Bessie approved a charter. Bessie got to the point in 2017, after looking at their performance, they decided to stop renewing their charter. And then we just went to a management agreement since then. And so, yes, essentially F or D for that period of time. And, you know, you asked the question last time we
I'm
met.
asking
You're probably
again.
going to ask me again.
I am.
Why does it take so long? A number of reasons, and one of those in this particular instance is, and we've had this discussion around Linwood internally for the since I've been here.
I've been here.
We have not had,
remember
you
that.
have to have someone that you believe in willing to step in and do the work. And this is the first time that we have that option, where we have an operator in Third Future that has applied to us to be a Type 5 operator that we have confidence in putting into the role.
So had we had an operator in 2017, we would have done something different then?
Well, I
Because that's
can't
8
answer
years
for
ago.
2017, that predates me, but I can tell you,
It does.
had we had an operator over the last few years that had applied to be Type 5 on the shelf and we had confidence in, we would have made a move. But we have not had that until now. And now we have the opportunity to bring that long-term stability with an operator that we believe in.
Because I don't want us to continue to fail our students.
Well, and as
If
Mr.
we're
Lambert
doing
shared,
Ds and Fs with all of our students and we're not progressing above that, we're doing a disservice to the children.
and as Mr. Lambert shared, if we look at, and again, I am thankful for Linwood doing the work for the years they've done the work. This is not in any way negative towards them. But if we look at the results of that, 3-8 model of students that they test, the results at Linwood are in the bottom 40%, whereas with Prescott, that same grade span, we're looking in the top 10% for growth. It is a statistically significant difference. Mr. Craddock, I just wanted to give you the opportunity to share with the board a little bit about your model. We've heard from the operators there at Linwood. I just wanted to give you the equal opportunity to share a little bit about your model at what you've done at Prescott, what you're doing at Fair Park. I saw on the recent teacher salary information, I think you're the highest paid, around the highest paid in the state at 80-something thousand per teacher. But also you have a near 100% retention rate. But tell us a little bit about your student model for success.
Sure, thank you for the opportunity. Dr.
And
Brumley.
Dr. Miles is behind you. She probably deserves and warrants an introduction as well.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Brumley and members of the board. My name is Dr. Shirley Miles. I'm co-founder for Third Future Schools and also the chief of schools for our 11 schools that we currently operate.
So our instructional model for students, it doesn't matter where you go. We offer 11 campuses in 3 different states. If you go into Prescott Academy here in Baton Rouge, it's going to look the exact same as it will at Fair Park Middle School in Shreveport, the exact same as the Academy of Advanced Learning in Aurora, Colorado. So it's predicated on K through 4. Our base curriculum is core knowledge, language arts. It covers the science of reading. That's going to be our literacy program. We're going to make sure that every kid gets grade level instruction every day, all core content classes, 5 days a week, and we have 184 student-teacher contact days. But also every student is going to get differentiated instruction as well. So they'll have a mini formative assessment, which we call a demonstration of learning, and then students get immediate remediation, if they need that, by the classroom teacher who's the content expert, or they get immediate acceleration in a team center where learning coaches provide support there. So we make sure that happens 184 days, every single day, in all core content classes. We have what we call the Third Future Ready characteristics. We have over 16 days of professional development and 8 days before a teacher steps foot in a classroom on August 4th. Our TFS Ready characteristics, they're nothing new. They're just proven best instructional practices that in Third Future we insist that they happen. They are non-negotiable. They're non-negotiable. We hire for character, we train for performance, and we coach for effectiveness. And we make sure our teachers get real-time on-the-job coaching. Our school-based leadership, or they're instructional leaders, they're not managers. They can model every single third future-ready instructional characteristic that we expect our teachers to execute. We make sure they do that, and they coach real-time and daily. It's not a afternoon, evening email. Our school-based administrators model it real-time in a classroom of 22 students. And we just make sure this happens every day. And we train well, we coach well, and we try and hire well. We provide extensive professional development. Dr. Miles and I do all of the professional development. We do not outsource that. You may be thinking, how can we afford to pay $81,000? It's because we don't outsource professional development. We are lean at central office. We have a total of 18 people that support 5,700 students. Next year, just around 7,000. So we stay lean, and we push that money down to the classroom. So that, in a nutshell, is how we do that. I'll let Dr. Miles speak briefly about our curriculum maps. She's the expert on curriculum. That's what her doctorate's in. So I let her run the show on that.
Thank you all very much again. We have done extensive, sorry, can you all hear me very clearly? We have done extensive work on developing our curriculum maps. So of course we use the Louisiana state standards. That's been our base guide. And then we look at 10 years worth of LEAP testing, that the things that have been released. And then we triangulate that, of course, with some of the Common Core standards and what are best practices in each of those content areas. So we have developed lesson plans following the curriculum map, lesson plans, PowerPoints, reading materials for every single content area and every single teacher. And so the teachers, what we have saved time in is making sure that our teachers have standards-based curriculum maps to follow every day of those 184 days. So they don't develop their own lessons. We have developed it for them based on the research and based on the standards, Louisiana state standards. So and I think that what helps us, and I think particularly with allowing that $81,000 a year average, is that the network, we don't take a percentage of any kind of contract. We get a salary. I get a salary even though I'm co-founder. And we push everything back into the classroom. That's how we're able to afford those high salaries. We're very lean, but we also are very particular of when we hire. And we have been able to staff every single one of our schools across 3 states.
And quickly on that, Third Future Schools has never had a substitute in the last 4 years. I think I shared that with this board when I was here presenting for the Type 5 Charter. Instead, we employed teacher apprentices. So every school has 1 teacher apprentice for every 150 students. So that's a full-time salaried position. Here in Louisiana, that's $63,000 as a salary. And then our teacher apprentices, they start the first day, July 22nd. They get the same 8 days, and they partner with an expert teacher. So I'm learning the model, I'm learning the TFS-ready characteristics. It's what we call a gradual release. So we have a formalized protocol on how to do it. And then if a teacher is out because their child is sick, the hot water heater broke, the teacher apprentice goes in. So not only do they know the strategies, they know the model, but most importantly, they have the relationship with the kids because they're employees. And then if it's a big issue, an FMLA, maternity leave, or something other than that, they go into that position. We give them that salary associated with that position, and then we backfill the teacher apprentice. So we make sure that all 184 days are effective days. Because when you have classrooms with substitute teachers, most of the time they're not effective. So that's a unique staffing model.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a question from Mr. Berkins.
When you move into a school like this, do you look at the existing faculty first?
Yes, sir, we do. So we have a comm plan, we call it our communications transition plan, ready to go. We have been doing this every summer since 2020, and the teachers that are there would get first dibs on a position. If our formalized protocol is a town hall with them, a meeting with them, and then run a Google survey for 72 hours. And if they want to apply, they get a 10-minute unannounced observation where we're looking for classroom management, presence, and content knowledge. If they have that, they move to a round 2.
Why do you want to go here?
Why do we want to go? Well, we have a presence in Shreveport, so we've been working with Caddo at the Type 3 with Fair Park. And really, to be honest, it's not about there, it's about helping students. So wherever we operate, whether it's Texas, Colorado, and Louisiana, we only want to be in underserved at-risk areas. And we want to reduce the number of students in DNF-rated schools. That's our charge, that's our mission. Dr. Miles, co-founder, I was the first principal at Third Future Schools in 2017. And so we went into Aurora, Colorado, and opened up with 492 kinder through 6. That school is now over 900 in K-8. And that's what it's about. It's about putting kids in quality seats. That's what the goal of Third Future Schools.
Thank you. Question, Ms. Mallorin.
I've heard a lot of discussion about 1 more year operating under the MOU by Linwood Charter Schools. I believe that 1 year is a significant time in any child's education, especially in these early grades. How much do you expect a student to grow in this population in a 1 year academic time frame?
So across the board in all schools, our action plan remains the same. In first year, in any new partnership, I want every student, the average to be 1.6 years of growth, as measured by the NWA MAP assessment. That is a leading indicator for LEAP. We look at other factors, but 1.6 to be blunt, year 1, 1.7 every year after that.
Thank you.
Mr. Morris.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I visited your Odessa campus a few years ago, just real impressed there. One of the things I was really impressed about was the differentiated learning approach. The atmosphere at the school, I just was very impressive, the student response, the teacher engagement. And then, at that time, obviously, I was curious about, how do you provide these kind of salaries? And then I followed the story at Prescott. And can you share with us there, how many applicants did you guys get at Prescott?
Because I was a former human resources director and we hadn't hired a principal, I actually went through 2,500 applications. And so we were able to staff, how many, 19 core teach? So 38 instructional positions going through all of those applications. And so.
So you had 38 seats to fill and you had 2,500 applications?
Yes, sir.
And we just heard that one of the critical issues with the current operator is finding qualified teachers. So to me, this is just an outstanding differentiation between the two models, in that you're able to draw the quality teacher with the salary you're able to provide. So that's just a huge point for me. And then anybody that's currently at the school, I think what I heard was $55,000 was the average salary now. So somebody that's there now and stays, that's a $25,000 a year raise. For me, that would be pretty significant as well, if I had the passion to work with these students and continue employment with these kids. So that's just a huge differentiator for me. Just want to make sure that our members appreciated that.
We
Thank
do
you,
go
Mr.
in
Morris.
for a 10-minute observation before we go on to step 2 of the interview. So if they don't make it through those observations, and I have over 35 years of experience, and so the 10 minutes is long enough to know whether they're going to be a good fit with our model or not.
Right. I appreciate there's a filter that makes sense, and your results definitely prove the model. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member have questions? If not, we shall proceed with the remainder, excuse me, of the public comments. And thank you for your presentation. At the table, Gord Wyatt. Wait, I'm sorry. Daryl Barnett, Willie, Wyatt, Mildred Tolliver. On deck, if you don't mind sitting at the front row, Sherry Tier, Janie Phillips, Charles Booth, and Sister Sharon Rambin. Guard, you may begin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Gard Wade. I'm president of Shreveport Charter Schools, Inc., which is the operator of Linwood Public Charter School at this time. How much time do I have? 3 minutes. Sorry?
Let's have 3 minutes, please. Wait one
Okay.
second.
I'm going to try to put 16 years
Is that
into
6?
3 minutes. We
Add 3
picked,
to.
we picked Linwood in 2009 because it was the worst of the schools that Caddo was losing. We competed with 4 other companies to get the charter for Linwood, and we started in a building that was dark and dirty and dismal. It was noisy. The teachers were screaming at the top of their lungs. The children were unruly and noisy. There were 500 students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. 6 fights a day the first year. Mostly girls fighting girls. That surprised me, but 6 fights a day. You couldn't drive down 70th Street because at 3:30 the kids would get out of school and they would stop traffic and beat on the hoods and knock on car windows and be very insulting to people. That was then. And very quickly we learned that the 6th graders coming to us were reading at a 2nd grade level. Well, we only had them for 3 years. That wouldn't possibly be corrected in 3 years. We went back to the state, and you gave us the authority to go start our own kindergarten, 1st grade, and then we added 2nd the next year, 3rd the year after that, 4th and 5th. When we got to 5th, we went back and added 4-year-olds. Now there are 1,100 students from 4-year-olds to 8th grade at Linwood Public Charter School. And when you walk in, it's brightly lit like this in every classroom. It's clean. It's quiet. There are no adult voices being heard. The children are orderly and walking in line from class to class. There are 1,100 students now. There were 500 when we started. It's now pre-K through 8th grade. And the 6th graders coming to us now, for the most part, have been with us since kindergarten. And the difference is incredible. We have added a 2nd campus. 2 years ago, we bought the St. Catherine's Church and School. We've put $3 million into remodeling that school, along with our academic endeavors. We have remodeled that school, and it's marvelous. And that was to prepare for the expansion of early childhood education. Every visitor that comes to Linwood applauds what they see. And I mean, any of you who have been there have applauded what they saw, and all of our visitors likewise applaud what they see and the way that the school is operated.
Mr. Wade,
We
please come to a,
survived COVID.
Mr. Wade, please come to a close.
Am I through?
Yes.
Give me a few more seconds. We survived COVID without a dip. We have not been happy with all of our academic achievements, but the cultural, the social, and all of the other aspects of the school are absolutely superb. whoever operates the school next year is almost certain to have a C school that is ready and prepared for the future.
Thank you, Mr. Wade.
And
Appreciate
as far
your
as I'm
comments.
concerned, whoever that is, I want to help them continue to make it better.
Thank you so much for your service. Next is Daryl. Wait, who's Daryl? You may. You have 3 minutes, Mr. Wade, Mr. Barnett.
We thought Mr. White was going to speak first. Is that okay?
Mr. Willie?
Yes.
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Go right
Good
ahead.
afternoon. I am Willie White. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for David Raines Community Health Centers. We are the operators of the school-based health centers that are located at Fair Park and certainly at Linwood. I want to start just by giving a brief overview of our organization. We actually started in the mid-'70s as the Cooper Road Medical Clinic, which is in the Cooper Road area of Shreveport, which was developed in order to provide health services to a disadvantaged area of Shreveport. In 1992, we became David Raines Community Health Center and reorganized as a federally qualified health center. For those who are not familiar with federally qualified health centers, over 60 years ago, they were designed to provide health services to disadvantaged populations in disadvantaged areas. And so since that time, David Raines has continued to provide primary care services not only to Shreveport, but we have expanded to not only Caddo, Bossier, Webster, and Claiborne parishes. We operate 6 community-based health centers and 17 school-based health centers in those parishes. We are nationally accredited by the Joint Commission. And so I say that to say that we certainly have been doing this for some time, and we certainly understand the business of healthcare. In regards to the current proposal, our concern today is that the healthcare services that are being provided through the school-based health centers continue. We are concerned that the current procedures will have a serious impact on the access of those students for healthcare services in the schools. We have seen that occur with Fair Park. Prior to Third Futures coming into the school, we had approximately 2,000 student visits to our health center for a variety of health issues. We provide not only primary care, but we also provide behavioral health. Since that time, we've seen that number drop to 253. And so we are very concerned about the process, the gatekeeper approach that Third Futures has in place, and the impact that will have on students accessing quality primary care services. I will turn it back over to Dr. Daryl Barnett.
Thank you, Mr. White. Thank y'all for having us here. I am a pediatrician. I've been in private practice for 34 years, and after that, I've been at David Raines as the pediatric director for 6 years. We have a model that we call the medical home model in our clinics, and it is a model that's the same one used in private pediatrics office. It's not a closet that's next to the front office of the school. There's a scheduling agent. There is a provider who is either a nurse practitioner or a doctor. There's a nurse, and in many of our clinics, there's a behavioral health counselor. And we treat the whole spectrum, everything from sports physicals to well child exams, acute visits, which includes everything from tummy aches and headaches to strep throat. We diagnose diabetes, we diagnose heart problems, we refer people appropriately. Our concern about the Third Future model is that the gatekeeper approach, using either an administrator, a teacher, or a counselor, does not allow that to happen, because those people, by law, cannot diagnose, treat, or prescribe. They basically can take a temperature and give someone an ice pack. And that is not what we believe should happen in a school-based health clinic. We believe it should be much more all-encompassing. Now, this is not speaking directly to the work that Third Future does. It's to what we would like to see them do in our existing and future clinics.
Thank you. Ms. Tolliver? Ms. Tolliver, can you state who you represent?
I am on the board for Linwood. I'm also a community member. I've had plenty of calls from parents who have said, my child has been from school to school, but my child has come here and the culture has really supported my child's learning. I'm asking that you guys would consider, please, an additional year to see if Linwood will be able to make a seat this year. I've been in, and everybody say I'm not talking negative about Third Future, but I'm gonna talk a little bit from Third Future from my point of view. I attended a workshop at the Charter School Conference in New Orleans in December, just to get some information, because, you know, a long time ago, I heard that they were gonna, in September, they were gonna take over. So I wanted to know about Third Future. And the first thing, came out on the slide was that we're not for weddings and a funeral. And I raised my hand and said, what does that mean? We don't let teachers be gone for weddings and funerals. And I'm like, okay. At the end, someone asked tell us about your curriculum. Could not get a real answer to say, we use this and this, and I just understood it's a core ELA, and I'm an educator, and I work in results, getting results for education for students. So there were questions asked that I left puzzled about. My question to them was, tell me about your sustainability. And I would ask you to ask them that same question, because the question that the audience got was that we don't have enough data to tell us about sustainability. We've not been in business that long in Louisiana, which is true, just came in, so we don't have, so we're comparing Colorado and Fairport. We're comparing, I know that in Beaumont, Texas, nobody's talking about that. Go look up Beaumont, Texas, where they asked Third Future, we need additional money to finish. Third Future asked them, I guess it's the salaries, I don't know. But they were saying, we're not able to finish out this contract. Now, that's just from social media, I may be wrong, and from my Googling. The other thing that I had a lot of concerns about, when I look on Indeed, even with teachers who are getting paid $80,000 to walk out, have you really asked and seen really good data? I don't want people going into schools, and we can hear a lot of good things in here about what we do. But I don't want to sell our kids because someone comes in and say, I'm paying you $80,000 and I don't have results. We can make results look the way and the data, and I know my time is up. But I do want to say, I would ask you please to consider another year to look at Fairport and to make that decision.
Thank you, Ms. Tolliver. I appreciate your service.
Our scores going up. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next at the table, any questions from board members at this point? At the next group of individuals, come forward, please. Sherry Tier, Janie Phillips, Charles Booth, and Sister Sharon Rabin. On deck, Dr. Jonathan Williams and Kara McGorry. Sherry, you may go first.
Good afternoon. My name is Sherry Tier, and I do teach the first grade at Linwood Public Charter School. And I'm here this afternoon because I want to share my experience with you within Caddo Parish and at Linwood and tell you why I believe we should have another year added to our contract. So I'm a teaching veteran. My teaching career started 17 years ago when I earned a master's degree in education from Centenary College. Since then, I've had the opportunity to teach in Texas, Wyoming, and Colorado, as well as Louisiana. And I do want to point out that a student from Louisiana is quite different than a student from Colorado. That being said, prior to teaching at Linwood, I served as an informal educator for the LSU Ag Center. In my role as an extension agent, I supported 4-H programming throughout Caddo Parish. And in that role, I've had the opportunity to enter all 62 schools in Caddo Parish. Also, I've entered all of their chartered schools and most of their private schools. And what I can tell you from that experience is that the way Linwood supports their students is superior. We not only support our students academically, but the best way that we support them is socially and economically, or socially and emotionally, excuse me. We have a handful, we have 3 social workers on staff and 2 counselors that are available to help with our problems and with our students' problems immediately. And we are not talking about small problems that our students have. I would say that 80% of my students live in homes where they are either abused or neglected. I would say that a good majority of my students do not have the resources they need from their families to be successful. And that is what makes Linwood stand out. The support we provide for them provides them with the skills they need to meet the challenges in their lives. We provide our students with the resources they need to walk through our hallways with their heads held high and to be proud of themselves. And my concern is that at the current administration of Linwood leaves, that our students will not be getting that care and support. It will cripple our 1,000 students, and it will also cripple our community. I'm asking that you extend our contract for 1 more year. Thank you so much for letting me share.
One second. I have a question while you're here.
Yes, ma'am.
At the table. You intrigue me to think. What is the difference between the Louisiana children and Colorado's children?
Poverty. Poverty. A much larger percentage of people and children live in poverty than they do here, than in Colorado.
Thank you. Next speaker,
Good
Janie.
afternoon, all. Can you hear me clearly? My name is Janie Phillips. I am a professional nurse of 53 years, soon will be 54. I am a child care health consultant for the state of Louisiana, recently named Health and Safety Educator 2 by the Louisiana Department of Education. In addition to that, I am a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. I have 2 grandchildren attending Linwood Public Charter since kindergarten. I must say, as a grandparent, I am pleased with the teaching staff. I am pleased with all of the staff really at Linwood, because what I see are concerned staff, not just teachers, but the receptionists at the front desk also know the children by name. And when the children are coming by her desk, she greets them, they greet her. I see respect. I see them learning as well as growing personally and socially. I am pleased with Linwood Public Charter. I am also involved with the parent and teacher organization because we support the mindset that Linwood is a growing school. Linwood is a school that is concerned and compassionate with the children as well as toward the parents. I am asking you to reconsider or to think about the value that the current staff plays as far as educating the children, working with the community. Reconsider and allow them another year. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. Mr. Charles Booth?
All right.
most of y'all should have received an email from me Saturday. I do apologize for Saturday emails.
Mr. Booth, may you identify?
Oh, I'm sorry,
who-
Charles Booth, 8th grade history teacher for Linwood Charter. I hear a lot of numbers being thrown around over the last hour or so that we've been in here, looking at data, looking at dollars. I don't look at any of that. Yeah, I could make 20-some-odd thousand more working for someone different, but I can't guarantee that they have the love and passion for these students as the current administration has, as the current teachers do. I remember when I became a teacher, my dad told me I picked the only profession that I was in it for the outcome, not the income. The only one. The reason I stay at Linwood, they leave me alone and they let me teach. And it's not all about the academics, guys. Those test scores aren't going to matter to these kids in 10, 15 years. What's going to matter to these kids is who is teaching them. Who is teaching them the right social expectations? Who is teaching them how to be good citizens? How to deal with things with respect, conflict resolution. Something that I was never taught that I'm now teaching these students, and so many of my coworkers are doing the same thing. I was kicked out of 7 schools in between my sophomore and senior year. 7. I was the worst kid to have in a classroom because of the home that I had. A lot of these kids that I deal with, the only place they feel safe is on the campus of Linwood. And if you change the charter, you change that. In the email that I sent you, I told you you will inevitably destroy a family and a community. And it's all about a vote. And really, I ask you, what is one more year? We've looked at all these numbers. We're like, yeah, so this charter has been around, and you throw out the number like 15 years, 19 years, whatever. I can tell you that since Dr. Jennings has been here, there's been a steady increase. That we didn't have that COVID slide, like he said earlier. And we're going to be a C school this year. I will gain 3 points in history alone. Like our 6 through 8 social studies team will get the 3 points. Everything else will be icing on the cake. All you got to do is let us cook. That is it. I appreciate y'all's time. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. Yes, next, Sister Rabin.
I'm Sister Sharon Rambin. I am the manager of the school-based health centers for David Raines in Shreveport-Bossier. I oversee the school-based health center program in 17 schools. I'm also a former high school teacher, and I'm a Catholic nun. And for those of you who are taught by the sisters, I don't carry a ruler, so don't worry. I'm worried. I'm very worried about Linwood. We have a great clinic there. We have 4 exam rooms, a laboratory, and we oversee the health care of all those children. 881 children to be exact. 84% of the school is consented. In other words, we have their parental consent to be seen in the clinic. So many times we look at all the statistics about the academics, but we forget about the other things that take place on those campuses. These children most are from very underserved families. They depend on this health care. I'm very afraid that it will turn into another Fair Park. Fair Park has been a heartbreaker for us in the school-based health center program. We have seen a very vibrant health clinic at Fair Park become nothing. Right now at Fair Park, there is a wonderful pediatric clinic with 5 exam rooms, a laboratory. It is locked. It's not by our choice. We offered to provide some services to the students. We did 22 clinic days at Fair Park this year. How many sick children did we see? The whole school year, 21. That's almost impossible. 21 sick children in a school for a whole year? I would say it was miraculous. We've also seen a drop in our consents. Our consents at Fair Park are not being distributed to new students or parents who are interested in enrolling their child in the clinic there. There's no access to that health clinic at Fair Park. I don't want to see Linwood become the same thing. We need to be there for the children, make sure they get the health care that they deserve, and also to help their parents. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Dr. Jonathan Williams and Kara McGorry. Please.
Sister, Sister, can I ask a question real quick?
If you don't, 1 second. For all of you, please take note, at 3:58, we'll have to go into a recess due to technical difficulties that will be coming up. So know that.
So am I correct that I heard earlier in our discussion that the health center would remain, so if I interpreted that wrong, let me know, but that we would have our teachers kind of help referring them? And hopefully, we have the majority of our teachers remaining. Am I correct with that? Is that what we heard? That the health center would still remain? Yes.
No, we'll have a nurse.
You'll have a nurse, not the full health center.
What we're saying is we would like for the counselor or the principal or an administrator to give them access to the nurse.
Okay.
Instead of just everyone going out to the nurse for whatever reason.
Okay. And do we currently have a nurse?
We got 8 minutes, okay. Thank you.
Sandy.
Thank you.
Ms. Holloway.
We,
Ms. Holloway,
time.
I have one question for the sister, or anyone. How is the healthcare clinic funded?
Depends, there's different ways, but a majority of it is from, if the students have insurance, if they have Medicaid, obviously there's billing. But if children do not have those things, they're still treated.
About how
There's-
many?
there's-
about
they're
how many-
still treated.
About how many children are treated through, because we know we've
Daily.
heard about poverty. So
Daily.
how many are treated through Medicaid or private insurance?
Medicaid, I would say, because of the poverty level, 95%.
95%. Do you intend on keeping this clinic open or off-site?
At Linwood,
Off-site of Linwood, instead of being a school-based healthcare?
we would prefer to stay at Linwood. We've been there 30 years. The sisters opened this clinic in 1996 to help the children in Cedar Grove neighborhood. And next year will be our 30th year. And we've done wonders with these children. They're doing great. But to come in and I don't know if that's going to happen, because I see Fair Park, we no longer have a clinic there.
How far is Fair Park from Linwood?
It's a pretty good, it's not nowhere near, it's on the other side of town, you might say.
Miles.
Okay.
Mileage, 5 miles maybe, 5, 6, maybe more.
Please
It is
note, we have
truly-
about 5 minutes before the computers shut down.
Thank you, sister.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Dr. Williams, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Brumley. It's an honor to be before you today. I'm Dr. Jonathan Williams. And in full disclosure, I'm a consultant, and I work with Linwood Charter School, but I also work with other schools across the state and then outside of the state of Louisiana. And I have a unique perspective. I want to say that, yes, definitely I'm not here to disparage any other groups, but I have strong confidence in the work that has been done, not only at Linwood, not only at what Linwood has done, but with the other schools where I am working across the state of Louisiana and seeing some of the things that they've put in place. Linwood is not only putting some of those same things in place that you heard Dr. Jennings mention, and I want to say this, I'm not going to, some of my talking points I have to just push off because some of this has already been covered, but I'm seeing that growth, and I'm proud of the growth that I'm seeing. And when we think about the schools, some of the schools where I'm working, and looking at how they've been able to sustain that growth over time and get to the point where Linwood would be, and Dr. Jennings mentioned since he has come in and the things that they have been able to do. I also think about the sunsetting of the accountability structure. And what is the new weight? The new measures will be mostly based upon that growth, and I'm confident that they can do that. Confident because what? They've taken a full advantage of a lot of the offerings at the state level. They participated in the SSI, Systemic Schools Initiative, and with some of the other schools that have improved in the Systemic Schools Initiative, Linwood has improved. They've taken benefit and made changes to their educator rubric, and they put some things and installed some of those things in place prior to it. They've opened themselves up to suggestion from me, and I'll be honest with you, I am not going to sugarcoat anything with them, not settle for mediocrity, and push and challenge them to push for more, to strive harder. And when I go around to other states, you know what we talk about? The gains that Louisiana has made, all right? Folks are asking me, how did they do it? What's being done? I want to tell you and answer that question that you share. You know what some of those factors are for some of the latest research, and you've heard it alluded to here? Belonging, consistency, academic coherence. That strong sense of belonging came through when you heard the folks from Linwood talk. We're talking about trajectory-changing schools, schools that have shown at least 1.3 years worth of growth. I'm saying, and before I leave in the few seconds that I have left, that given time, I am confident, I do believe, based upon the measures and the things that we have been looking at and constantly looking toward, Linwood has one more testing cycle. They will be close to that point. And as, I don't know if I shared this, I was trying to get through my points in these few seconds. I've been a principal in the Recovery School District, director of schools, and I know what it's like. I know exactly what it's like, the hardship. The superintendent would send me out to tell folks, okay, and try that at a legacy school in New Orleans, okay? We're about to transition you over. It's extremely difficult work, but I'd ask you to think more deeply and give them more time, okay?
Thank you for your comments. Next.
Hi, Kara
Ms.
Majori, CEO of New Schools for Louisiana, and I know we're on a crunch, so I'm going to be brief. I also serve on the Third Future Schools Board in Northern Louisiana, and so I'm here to represent both NSLA and also the board and say this. Third Future does two things well. They set high expectations for kids and then make sure adult excuses and problems don't get in the way of kids meeting those expectations. And they let teachers do what they do best, which is teach, and then they honor that by paying them what they're worth. And we've seen the results from that over the last couple of years that they've been here. And as a board, we are working hard to ensure that that continues in North Louisiana, and we hold them to a high expectation as well. But often we don't have to because sometimes my expectations aren't as high as the team's. And so I'm hoping for that to continue here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the public comments. Any other questions, comments, any opposition into moving forward? Motion carried. Next item, please.
Your next item is on page 16, item 3.2, consideration of the extension of the partnership agreement between the Recovery School District and Third Future Schools for the continued operation of Prescott Academy as an RSD direct-run school for an additional 4 years. The recommendation is to approve.
Motion? Mr. Morris? Mr. Perkins?
Ms. Holloway, this simply aligns and extends the partnership agreement between Bessie and Third Future to continue until 2030 at Prescott, where we're seeing good results. This will align with the ending dates that are for the Type 5 charter between Linwood and Third Future that was just approved. So this puts everyone on the same timeline for the Third Future schools in Louisiana.
Any objection? Motion carried. Next item, please.
Your next item is on page 43, item 4.1, consideration of an update report regarding the LA Gator Scholarship Program. The recommendation is to receive. Updated backup has been distributed.
Thank you. Mr. Morris?
I'd like to make a motion that we move this item till tomorrow's agenda.
A second? Mr. Harris? Any opposition of moving the 4.1 till tomorrow? Thank you.
All right, that concludes your agenda.
Thank you.